Thank you, Maya. Thank you. It's wonderful to see the good work that God is doing through the Clergy Council. And it's been wonderful to see the way that this community has been present in times of crisis. I'll begin with a story. A couple of months ago, I had just returned a rental car, and I left my garage door opener in the rental car. When I rented the car, I had a not so good experience. I had rented, I was going out of town, so I rented a smaller car for gas purposes, but they said all they had was an SUV. So I said, all right, that's fine. I was literally told when I said I have a reservation for a car, they said, well, that's just the reservation. It doesn't matter. It was like a Seinfeld episode. It was actually quite amusing. So about a week later, I returned the car. I forgot my garage door opener, left it in there. So I go back to pick up my garage door opener. I called in and said I was going to pick it up. And as I'm walking in, you know, sometimes they have these big TV screens on in the background and you can see the news, and they had it on to Fox News, and it was showing images of Korean men. And I think you might remember that context. It was Korean men being zip-tied, hands and feet bound, and escorted off the premises of the Hyundai factory in Georgia. These were professionals, engineers, technicians, who were brought over to help America. They were here for the sole purpose of building America's industry and its impact. And there were 300 of them being marched off and being deported in handcuffs and in zip ties. And I remember watching that and just feeling triggered, feeling my body tense up. As I'm waiting to speak to the person, another person comes in, the very person that told me my reservation was meaningless. He looks at me and he says, I see your attitude hasn't changed. I said, where is it coming from? He picks up the garage door opener from behind the counter and pretends to throw it at me. I'm terrified. I'm shaking. He slams it on the counter. I pick up the controller, I leave, and I'm headed out, shaking. He chases me into the parking lot and starts yelling at me, starts screaming at me. I run to my car. Thankfully, another attendant was there who kind of was able to stop him. I run to my car. I drive off. I get home. I'm screaming the entire way home. My body is tense. My whole being is assaulted. I go home. I didn't even make it into my house. I scream at the top of my lungs in my backyard. I could feel what it was like to be unsafe in our community, what it's like to feel like you're in your home, you're in your neighborhood, you're in your community and your city, and you don't feel safe. I want to remind us that that is the feeling of so many in our community right now. They are people who do not feel safe. I didn't feel safe at home. I didn't feel safe in my neighborhood where multiple ICE raids had occurred within a 2 or 3 block radius, where my neighbors were being rustled up and detained and arrested. I didn't feel safe in my neighborhood. I didn't feel safe in my workplace. I've had 3 panic attacks over the last 3-4 months. Right here in the back, in the parking lot, I had a massive panic attack. I couldn't get out of my car. I was feeling unsafe. And I was feeling unsafe in my nation as the rhetoric was getting ramped up. Everywhere you looked, there were threats on me because I'm a naturalized citizen, because I was not born in the United States and I'm a foreigner and an alien and an immigrant that doesn't belong here anymore. That rhetoric was starting to affect me. It even affects my children who were born here, but birthright citizenship is now being challenged. So anybody who is not a person, a European descent, is no longer welcomed. I was feeling unsafe because the national rhetoric and the response on the ground to that national rhetoric, the harassment of Somali immigrants, the hardships endured by our immigrant brothers and sisters all over the United States. We were not safe anywhere. And so I did what I almost never do, which is retreat, which is to run away, which is to not want to engage anyone or anything anymore. Because when you're feeling unsafe, you feel weak and you feel silenced and you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help. Then a few weeks ago, I heard this passage out of a passage that is probably familiar to many of us, Joshua 1, verses 1 through 9. It is the passage that repeats 3 times. Be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. Now, if you know the formula in the Bible, especially in the Old Testament, there is a pattern that the biblical writers use. They use a pattern called the imperative and indicative formula. And what that means is there is a command that is given, an imperative, and it is followed by the indicative, meaning you are told to be something, do something, be holy as I am holy, be strong and courageous, but it's never left there. The prophets always followed an imperative with an indicative, meaning if I call you to be holy, I will tell you the reasons how you can be holy. If I call you to be strong and courageous, I will give you the reasons how and why you can be strong and courageous. And that's the pattern that's followed here. The first incident, it's 3 times it's repeated, be strong and courageous. The first is be strong and courageous because God's promises are true. God's promises are true. They are true to the privileged, they are true to the powerful, but they are also true to the alien and immigrant among us. They are also true for the unhoused. They are also true for victims of violence. They are also true for those who are weak and silenced. God's promises are true. Here's an interesting way that this came true for me. As I said, I had been feeling unsafe at work, and I've had multiple panic attacks thinking about coming into work. But there was an event here on campus, and it was sponsored by a Native American community. And about 25 years ago, God introduced me to this community, a group of scholars, a group of activists, First Nations brothers and sisters who mentored me for the last 20, 25 years. They've mentored me and led me along the way. And even though I was shaking, like I am now, shaking to come on campus, there was something that allowed me to be here, and that was this promise. God's promises are true. And what does that mean for me with the Native American community? It means that God's promise to the Native community that you are the original stewards of this land. You are the ones who I have entrusted to be the caretakers of this Turtle Island, of this American continent. This Turtle Island belongs to the Native people. God's promises to that are true. They are not forsaken. They are not abrogated because some colonial settlers came along. And so this land that we're on does not belong to the powers that be. It does not belong to the United States government. It belongs to God, who had offered it as stewardship to our First Nations brothers and our sisters. So if we cling to God's promises, then we need to acknowledge this is not our land. And our actions on this land needs to match up and measure to God's original promises. To be proper stewards of this land. To be proper stewards of those who are alongside those who are the original stewards of this land. God's promises are true, so be strong and courageous. The second, be strong and courageous, is about how God's truth must be spoken. Obedience to speaking God's truth. There's that beautiful passage in Jeremiah. It's like a fire shut up in my bones. Say that to your neighbor. Shut up in my bones. It's like a fire. Shut up in my bones. The best rendition of this is actually by Kirk Franklin, where he says, it's like a fire shut up in my bones. It just won't leave me alone. It just won't leave me alone. This is what's happening in the second, be strong and courageous. The truth has been shut up in your bones. It's a fire that is burning within. And if you don't speak it out, it will consume you. Truth must be spoken. Truth must be spoken out loud. It will not leave you alone. I have felt that for 30 years, white evangelical Christianity has tried to shut me up, shut me down. And it felt like Pasadena 2025 was able to do that in 6 months, what white evangelicals couldn't do for 30 years. But the truth does not go away. The truth is shut up in our bones. So clergy, Pasadena community, keep speaking the truth. Speaking the truth of God's love and care for the alien and immigrant. Speak the truth for those who are poor, those who are weak, those who are marginalized. Speak the truth. Don't let it consume you. Speak it out loud. Speak it on the streets. Speak it to the communities that need to hear it. Speak it to the powers that be. Do not allow the truth to be shut up in your bones, but to speak it out loud. And finally it says, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Now, where have you heard that phrase, God will be with you, as a promise? And then where does it get fulfilled? God will be with you means at some point God is with us, right? God will be with you, Old Testament says. And in the New Testament, what does it say? God is with us. And what is that word? Emmanuel. God is with us. The promise of your strength is possible. Your courage is possible. The promise in Joshua, the fulfillment of that promise is that God is with us. Not will be with us, but God is with us. Emmanuel. And why do we have green and red? And why do we have trees and holly and poinsettias? Because this is the season for Emmanuel. That God is with us. So preach that truth to your congregation. Speak that truth in your ministry. God is with us. And I'm going to try something here. Pastor, I'm going to use your piano in a way that is not very musical. All right. Scale. Basic scale. I just went backwards. Up the scale. Down the scale. So what does it mean to go down the scale? It means something high is moving down. I saw this on YouTube, so this is true. Joy to the world is written just down the scale. Why can we be joyful in this world? Why can we be strong and courageous? Because Emmanuel, God is with us. From the high places to the low place. From up on the scale to down on the scale. My dear brothers and sisters, continue to be that presence. Be in the streets. Be in your congregation's lives, the everyday suffering. Be in the places where the alien and immigrants among us are being threatened and feeling unsafe. Be in that place. We are in the high places. We're in the academy. We're in the churches. But move down that scale and become God with us. Amen.